right, so I'm actually here for the remainder, so I won't be, so it's great. All right, well, hello everybody. Oh no, I actually like this. Yeah, we're good. Okay, so I tend to not like podiums as a general rule. I think it's like this weird thing that makes you different than, it's a weird barrier. We definitely don't like it. So, my name is Manny Escamilla. I'm actually from the class of '06 here at Santa Ana College. I actually ended up going to middle college, so that was the first time I was here on the campus, and definitely consider this place to be one of my, part of my home. Part of my experience, and really would not be where I'm at today without folks like Kathy that really helped me out back when I was still a struggling D-, D+, C student in high school, and then really just kind of figuring out the steps that I needed to take to kind of live up to my own potential, but really to figure out how to navigate this weird world that we're all living in. So this is going to be a little story about my life. If you guys can't see the photos, they're pretty good, but let's see. That's me. So if you guys can't see it, I was a very chunky baby. And there's no laser. Is there a laser? Okay, so that's me anyways. I'm trying to point to the double chin. It's actually, as a child, I like to eat, sleep, and play, and I was pretty good at it. So that kind of stayed with me for the rest of my life. It was pretty quiet, solitary, reserved for the most part. I didn't like climbing things, but then getting stuck in trees. So as a kid, I would always try to climb up as high as I could, but then someone would have to pick me out off a tree because I wouldn't know how to climb back down. But still, it was fun. And let's see, okay. So this is the elementary school that I went to, so it's a little high. We can lower that screen a little bit. So I went to school over at McIntyre area in the center of the city. So if anyone knows that area, it's pretty much by the Townsend Great area. So I grew up around a lot of gang violence. Pretty much the day-to-day experience was that there was a shooting every day, every other night, multiple people being shot in front of my home. It was one of those things where the very first thing I wanted to do as a kid was be successful and get the hell out of Santa Ana. Really, that was, at least for a lot of people in my generation, it was the idea that in order to be successful, you had to leave. You had to figure out a way to get out. And then that's something that I tried to struggle with my entire life. And it took a lot of care from the community, a lot of supportive mentors to really recover from that. But that was definitely part of my formative experience. I knew that I wasn't very fast, so I had to be smart. So 11 years at that school. I found out a lot of things that I enjoyed. So science, card games, history, which is actually what I got my undergraduate degree in. This is the first time I ever appeared in a book, was for a Pokemon book back in about 2002. So I was there in a book about Pokemon, just there in the audience, and that was the first time my name ever was there. So, pretty cool little thing. But in high school, I had like the worst high school picture ever. So this is like me sophomore year. I thought, this is like when it was like everything went wrong that could go wrong in a photograph. So this is probably when I had the hardest time trying to figure out who I was, kind of where I belonged, and everything. But the lessons here was, it was kind of a very tumultuous time in the country's history. So this was during 9/11. We were starting to enter the Iraq War. Afghanistan was just kind of around the corner. So this is basically kind of a formative period of my life. And school was socially hard for me. I'm very socially reserved, kind of awkward around most people. So it took me a long time to figure out how to navigate the social world. And I realized that if you got C's, no one would bother you. So if you're a failing student, people would come up to you and try to figure out what was wrong, but you would be totally left alone if you would just get enough C's to be able to pass on to the next grade and just do enough. So I figured that out. Definitely wasn't a healthy habit, but it was what I learned. But also, this time I started noticing kind of the disparities around me. So I did have the privilege of going to modern day high school for 2 years, while most of my friends were going to Valley. So just within that one street, if you go basically from one side of that here to another, they're two completely different worlds. You see the amount of disparity that is here in society. So that is something else that stuck with me fairly early on. Okay, almost. There you go. But this is where it started kind of being more comfortable with who I am. So this is like the year after, so no longer in a private school. Just for those people that know me, they know that I'm a total metalhead, right? So just like death, black, and grind. Those are the types of music that I really enjoy. But I don't look the part anymore. This is me with like 7-inch Liberty spikes for the high school prom and everything. So again, just being comfortable, starting to be who I am, and learning how to adapt to the world around me. And yeah, finally, when I entered community college formally, right, so at the age of 18, I was like, oh man, I'm 18, I have responsibilities now. Technically, I'm an adult under the eyes of the law. And let's see, it was time to grow up. And I was trying to figure out exactly what I wanted to do in the world. And for me, I had a lot of little nieces and nephews, so they kind of gave me a reason. Let's see. Nope. Oh wow, this is okay. There you go. Okay. So a lot of nieces and nephews. Basically, never had kids, but I've always had kind of the next generation I've been taking care of in the form of my nieces and nephews. And what I started really getting involved with are different mentoring programs. So while here at SAC, I entered the SSCI programs. I'm not sure if you guys still have that around. We basically go down to UCI, have some classes over there. So that was a really great experience. The Honors Transfer program was very instrumental to this entire group that you're a part of. Was one of the big reasons I was able to turn my life around. So up until that point, I was very much, like I said, a C student, trying to figure out just how to get by. And the thing that was probably the most dramatic transformation in my life happened with the northern trips. I know that you all go on the northern trip, and how many people have taken it so far? Anyone to go to the northern UCs? If you haven't and they still do it, I highly recommend it. So that's the first time I was on the Berkeley campus, and I said that this is where I wanted to go. This is where I wanted to be. And I talked to my guidance counselor, Rochelle Zook, who's not here today. Rochelle?
She ended up having to babysit
Okay, so she's babysitting her sick niece today. But she was the person that helped me kind of transform, like say, all right, these are the things that you need to do, get some A's, volunteer, do everything you possibly can, talk to your guidance counselors, and then you can, possibly transfer to Berkeley. It was a long shot. Like I said, I'd already kind of amassed a series of D's and C's. So I worked very hard. Ended up going and getting straight A's for the next the next 4 semesters, just making sure that I did everything, kind of checked off all the boxes, and it was great. I actually ended up kind of making some of my dreams come true. So this is me with my long hair. This is basically what I looked like once I transferred out, going to just metal shows. But the great thing about this was this is actually a show over in the Bay Area. Once I finally made it over to Berkeley, went in as a history student, did my degree over there, and just had a really great time. So it's one of those things where that followed through. My family dropped me off, and I was super excited to be there, and it was an entirely new world. But it wouldn't have been possible without the mentors that I had in programs like this. And from there, not really sure what I was going to do after you graduate. Because that's what the other confusing parts is that you graduate, you have this goal, and then you're done, and you're not really sure what to do. So I actually ended up being involved mostly with the city of Santa Ana. So I actually worked for the city for 14 years in various capacities. So I worked as an archivist, so someone that preserves history and historic materials. I worked as a management analyst, as a librarian, worked over in the planning department. So 14 years working for the city of Santa Ana, just because it was a place that I loved, and I knew that we could make a lot of differences and changes here locally. So that's what I did, and in that time, I had a couple of instances of going to graduate school. So I've actually, not many people know that I'm actually involved or enrolled in 3 graduate programs, but I failed out of 1. So this is one of those things where I tried doing an online program, and it didn't quite work out for me. So my first attempt at grad school was a complete failure. I got kicked out of San Jose's online information science program, and basically the next year I worked through, got myself in communication with the state librarian, did some projects that had that were awarded national awards, and I managed to get into UCLA's program. So I went from San Jose State, I get kicked out there, but really doing an in-person program that was more suited to my particular learning style, and I did really well there. So that was a really great experience. So the first graduate school program, got picked out. The second one did absolutely well, and after that, I actually got the opportunity to kind of change careers. I don't know if everyone's set on having only one career in their life. I think I've already had about 4 distinct phases at this point. But ended up going back for a planning program. So it's a totally different world, kind of applying what I had learned in the archives, what I had learned in the library, and it involved going back to school again. So, that whole process is pretty tough, but it's great when you have support, when you have people that care, being able to point out, kind of walk in your community and feel that you're actually a part of it, I think is very important. And let's see, and at the end of the day, you're just trying to thank those people that had an impact in your life and to make sure to pay it forward. So a lot of folks that are here, if you haven't already established a mentoring relationship with anyone, I highly recommend it. I think that's really the key that kind of kept me going and grounded, because there were a lot of points where I just wanted to give up. And I think that we all feel that way. There's certain days that can be very hard. I think I have at least like 2 scars on my body from certain days where I just fell down. I cut my knee open a little bit, and I just didn't want to make it to class. And I knew that if I didn't make it to class that day, I was going to fail that class, and then I was going to get up, and then I might have to go on academic probation. So things like that happen in our lives, and we have to push forward. But the only reason I was able to is because I had support from my mentors, from my fellow classmates. And, don't ever feel that you can't reach out, because I think that's something that when we look at success, we don't realize how many kind of scars it took for a person to get there. So I'm hoping that, wherever you're at in your journey, please reach out to someone to help you get to that next step. And then, take the time to reconnect with what you love. So for me, definitely like journeying out to our national forests, but every time I go on a vacation now, I literally just make it down to that local library, and I try to find old historic photographs, things that are related to the history of the city. And so just the other weekend I was in Santa Barbara, and I went through about, let's say, 15,000 photographs that were there in a collection from a professor here from Santa Ana College, Sheila Goldman. So she's the reason why you have that Meta mural over at the library. You guys are familiar with it? The Neely Library, and the giant mural that's in the back. So that one was done because of a professor that was here in 1974, and her photographs and collection are now over in Santa Barbara. So again, it's kind of making those connections, having fun, being able to go on vacation, but at the same time, reconnecting it and doing something with that. So all that is to say, these are a lot of things that shaped me and kind of were the reason that I decided to run for city council. I basically left my job. I upended where I was living at. I did a lot of things that kind of made, don't necessarily always make sense, right? You want to have a stable job, you want to make sure that you're just kind of always moving forward within a certain little realm, but I did it because I thought that was the right thing to do, and it was like the next step for me to be on this journey on how I could make a difference in the city that gave me so much. So this is really great. Thank you, Kathy, for having me here. This is actually in front of my dad's machine shop, so he works over at Adapt Automation, and if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be here. If it wasn't for my mom, I wouldn't be here. And I think that we really take those steps to build these communities, to make sure that you feel connected, and I think that at the end of the day is the reason why we're all here, and will be the difference between being very successful, being very successful, but then also being very happy with that success. So a lot of us can kind of, check all those boxes, hit all those marks, but you don't feel like your friends and family are there with you. It's much harder to really enjoy it. So I do always say, make sure to reach out, be part of the community, and try to look for that difference that you can make just on a day-to-day basis, because your lives are important, and I think that you are just going to be phenomenal in whatever you do. We just have to figure out what it is, and it's not always going to be a straight line. So with that, I think that's my time, and I just want to thank you all for doing the work that you're doing, and you're going to do great. I know it.